Hi there, in this video I'm going to discuss the equation of a circle. So let's begin. So if we consider a circle with radius r and centre c, and if the centre c has coordinates a, b, so I have a diagram here showing a circle with centre c with coordinates a and b, and a radius, so the radius of the circle being r. So the equation of a circle is given by x minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared. So if you have an equation of this form, the values of a and b will give you the coordinates of where the centre of the circle is, and r gives you the value of the radius of the circle. Over to the next screenshot. So also, if you're given an equation of this type, so the equation being x squared plus y squared plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c is equal to 0, this is the general equation of a circle, provided that g squared plus f squared minus c is greater than 0. From this equation, you can calculate the centre of a circle. So the centre of the circle is minus g minus f. So this is the coordinates of where the centre is. So minus g being the x coordinate and minus f being the y coordinate of the centre. And to work out the radius, here's the formula to calculate the radius. It's the square root of g squared plus f squared minus c. So I would encourage you to learn these results so you can use these results in order to work out the coordinates of the centre and to work out the value of the radius, given your equation of a circle in general form. So I have a couple of examples that we can go through. So the first example, find the centre and radius of the circle whose equation is x squared plus y squared plus 8x minus 2y plus 13 is equal to 0. So let's have a go at this example. So back to the paper and pen. Now I'm going to show you two ways in order to solve this example. So I'm going to call this method 1. Now method 1 is you can use completing a square in order to make this given equation in the form that I've showed you in screenshot 1. So if we go back to screenshot number 1, so remember the equation of the circle, you can express it in this form: x minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared. And the values of a and b will therefore give you the coordinates of where the centre is, and the value of r will give you the radius of the circle. So if we go back to the paper and pen, what I'm going to do is, to make it in this form, let me write this x squared term, and let me bring this 8x term beside it, and let me also take this y squared and the minus 2y term, keeping the 13 to the side. So in order to make it in the form x minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared, what we're going to do is, the next step, use completing a square and write x squared plus 8x, so I'm going to call this star, and use completing a square and write y squared minus 2y, let's call that double star. So we're going to apply completing a square to x squared plus 8x, and we're also going to apply completing a square as a separate calculation to y squared minus 2y, forgetting about the constant for now. So let's do a side calculation for, so let me take a red pen, star. So star is x squared plus 8x. Now, if you're not familiar with completing a square, I have created a video on completing a square, so I'll provide a link to that video in the description below. However, let me go through the method. So the first step of the method, so we need to group the x squared and x terms in the brackets. So I'll write the x squared and the x terms in the brackets. Second step of completing the square, so we need to take the number in front of x squared as a common factor. So the coefficient of x squared is 1, If I take that as a common factor, I'm left with x squared plus 8x within the brackets. Third step, I have this one. I copy down the x squared plus 8x, and I'll always add here. So let me take this green pen. So green circle means always add. And we're adding half the coefficient of x, and we square that term. So the coefficient of x is plus 8. Half of plus 8 is plus 4. Don't forget to square. So it's a plus 4 squared. But remember, you can't simply add something. You need to subtract whatever you've added. So outside, we always subtract. So subtract, green circle means it's always subtract outside. And we're subtracting what we've added. So we've added 1 times plus 4 squared. So outside, we need to write down the 1 times plus 4 squared. So in the last step of completing a square, I copy down this 1. I bring down one of these x's. I bring down one of the plus 4's. Close the bracket and square. And all we do is simplify this end term. So we have a minus. So a minus. 4 squared is 16. Times 1 is 16. And this should be the solution for when you complete the square of star. Now let's continue. So we got double star. So let's complete the square of y squared minus 2y. So another side calculation. So here's double star. So let's apply the method to y squared minus 2y. So first step of completing a square. So group the y squared and the y terms in a bracket. I'm going to take the plus 1 as a common factor, leaving me with y squared minus 2y within the bracket. So after which we have the 1, we have the y squared minus 2y, and remember we always add here, and we're adding half the coefficient of y. So coefficient of y is minus 2, half of minus 2 is minus 1, but don't forget to square, so it's minus 1 squared. And remember we need to subtract, so subtract outside, so 100% subtract outside, and we're subtracting what we've added, so we've added 1 times minus 1 squared, so outside I'm going to write down the 1 multiplied by this minus 1 squared. So in the last step, copy down this 1, write down one of these y's, write down one of these minus 1's, close the bracket and square that entire bracket to give us y minus 1 squared. And all we do now is simplify this term here. So minus 1 squared is plus 1. Plus 1 times 1 is still plus 1, but don't forget the minus, so a minus 1. So this is what you should have when you complete the square of double star. This is what you should have when you complete the square of star. So let's implement these into the main calculation. So for star we had, so let's copy that down. We had 1 into x plus 4 squared minus 16, and for double star we had this, so in this case it's plus 1 into y minus 1 squared minus the 1, and plus the 13, so plus the 13, which is equal to 0. And if I continue, we're going to have x plus 4 squared plus a y minus 1 squared. Minus 16 minus 1 is minus 17. Minus 17 plus 13 is minus 4. So it's a minus 4, which is equal to 0. And if I take the minus 4 to the opposite side, we're going to have x plus 4 squared plus y minus 1 squared, and that is equal to plus 4. And plus 4 is the same as 2 squared. Now, remember the reasoning for us writing our answer in this form. So if we go back to the screenshot, so remember the equation of a circle is given by x minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared. And remember what we discussed, a and b will give us the coordinates of the centre of the circle, r is the radius of the circle. So if we go back to the paper and pen, so first of all let me write this as x minus 4 close bracket squared plus y minus 1 squared is equal to 2 squared. So let me note down the equation of the circle, x minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared. So by comparison we note that a is minus 4, the b value is plus 1, and the r value, the radius, is 2. So let's note this, a is minus 4, b is plus 1, r is 2. So remember, for the coordinates of the centre, so the centre will be having coordinates a and b, so a is minus 4, b is 1. So that is how you would work out the coordinates of the centre given an equation of this type. As for the radius, so the radius is the value over here, so by comparison r is 2, so the radius is 2. Going to the reverse, that is how you would calculate the centre and the radius, so that is one of the methods, so that is method number 1. Okay, let me show you the second method, so method number 2. So let me underline this. So if we go back to one of the screenshots, I said also if you're given the circle in general form, so of the form x squared plus y squared plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c equals 0, provided that g squared plus f squared minus c is greater than 0, the centre of the circle will have coordinates minus g minus f, and to work out the radius it's the square root of g squared plus f squared minus c. Okay, so if we go back to the paper and pen, so let's have a go with method number 2. So our equation is x squared plus y squared plus 8x minus 2y plus 13 is equal to 0. So we have x squared plus y squared plus 8x minus 2y plus 13 is equal to 0. So if I make the comparison of that with the general form, so x squared plus y squared plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c is equal to 0. So by comparison, the coefficient of x will give us 2g. So the coefficient of x in this case is plus 8. So that will give us 2g. So 2g will be plus 8. And if I take a green pen, the coefficient of y is 2f. So the coefficient of y is minus 2. So 2f is equal to minus 2. So if we continue along this line, 2g is 8, so the value of g in this case is going to be 4. 2f is minus 2, value of f is minus 1. So if we go back to the screenshot, using the values of g and f, the centre of the circle will have coordinates minus g minus f. So if we go back to the paper and pen, here are the values of g and f. So for the centre, so remember the result, it's minus g minus f. So it's minus g value is 4, minus f value is minus 1, minus of a minus 1 is plus 1. So this is the centre of the circle having coordinates minus 4, 1, and that corresponds to the answer that we had using method 1. Now, as for the radius, so let's work out the radius, r. So if we go back to the screenshot, so remember the formula for the radius is the square root of g squared plus f squared minus c. So if we go back to the paper and pen, let me copy down that formula. So it's the square root of g squared plus f squared minus c. So let's use our values for g and f. So in this case, it's the square root of g, which is 4, so 4 squared, plus f is minus 1, so minus 1 squared, minus the value of c. So the value of c from the comparison is 13. So the c value is 13. So minus 13, okay, for c. And if we simplify this, we're going to have the square root of 4 squared being 16, plus minus 1 squared being plus 1, minus 13, okay? So r will be 16 plus 1 is 17, minus 13 is 4. So it's the square root of 4, which is 2. So 2 being the value for the radius. And as you can see, this is exactly what we had before using method 1. So using method 1, we also had the radius value of 2. So what I'm trying to say is you can either use method 1 or method 2 in order to work out the centre and the radius. So in the next example, let's find the centre and radius of the circle whose equation is x squared plus y squared minus 3x plus 5y minus half is equal to 0. So here's example number 2. So here's the equation x squared plus y squared minus 3x plus 5y minus half is equal to 0. Now, it's up to you which method you use, whether you use method 1 using completing a square or method number 2 using the general equation of a circle. I'm going to use method number 2. So let me use method number 2 to work out the coordinates of the centre and the radius. So in this case, if you go back to the screenshot, remember the idea. First make the comparison with x squared plus y squared plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c equals 0 in order to work out what g, f and c are. So if we go back to the paper and pen, so let me take a red pen, let me compare that with the general form x squared plus y squared plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c is equal to 0. So by comparison, 2g, the term in front of x, is, looking at our equation in question, it is minus 3. So let me make a note of that. 2g is minus 3. Okay? And if I take a green pen, so with regards to the coefficient of y, 2f, 2f in this case, looking at the equation in question, it's plus 5. So let me make a note of that also. 2f is plus 5. As for c, c in this case, looking at this equation, c is minus half. So the value of c is minus half. So if I continue, let's calculate g and f. So 2g is minus 3, so g is minus 3 over 2. Let me continue over here to work out what f is. So f will be 5 over 2. So this is the value of g, f, as well as c by comparison. So if we go back to the screenshot, so remember, in order to work out the coordinates of the centre, it's minus g minus f. So if we go back to the paper and pen, so for the centre, so centre will be minus g minus f. So it's going to be minus, the g value is minus 3 over 2, minus into a minus is plus, so plus 3 over 2. The f value is 5 over 2, so it's a minus 5 over 2. Now for the radius, so if we go back to the screenshot, so remember the radius has the result square root of g squared plus f squared minus c. So if we go back to the paper and pen, let's work out the radius. So radius r, the formula, remember it's the square root of, so it's g squared plus f squared minus c. So we have the values, of g, f and c. So let's apply the values. So g in this case is minus 3 over 2, so it's minus 3 over 2 squared, plus f in this case, f is 5 over 2, so 5 over 2 squared, minus the value of c is minus half. So if we calculate this, let's have a look at what we have as a result. So it's going to be the square root of minus 3 over 2 squared is 9 over 4, plus 5 over 2 squared is 25 over 4, minus into minus is plus, so it's a plus half. So in this case, if I continue along the line, so we're going to have the square root of, so 9 over 4 plus 25 over 4 plus half, so which is 36 over 4. 36 over 4 is the same as 9, so it's a root 9 being 3. So 3 being the radius of our circle. So that completes example number 2. And that also sadly ends this video. So I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, a like is very much appreciated. Do plenty of practice related problems, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.